Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai hara mai ki te aoha, kina your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, te kore mako o Taranaki, 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, he is a highly regarded figure in Aotearoa's rugby league and school sports circles, especially here in Taranaki, where he stands as a true icon of the game and one of the province's most insightful coaches. He's also a familiar voice on the airwaves as a popular sports show host here at Te Kore Mako o Taranaki, and when he's not talking sports, you'll likely find him out enjoying his passion for fishing. No mai hara mai, the one and only Terry Tamati. Kia ora, Unc, how are we going?
Morena, great introduction, my friend. I don't know if I can back it all up, but good to talk to you.
Oh, it's awesome to have you on the show, Unc. As mentioned prior to us starting, we're up to about 99 now interviews, and we're saving the 100th for the man himself. But someone pulled out earlier in the week, so you're number 99, Unc. And it's a privilege and an honour to have you on the show. A show that you've run for so long, and just really looking forward to having a kōrero and hearing of your journey. But before we get started, ko waikoe, no he koe, just a bit about yourself and where you're from.
Well, yeah. Well, 50 years in sport, I suppose, so that's really the biggest portion of my life. Returned from Australia in the 1970 and got involved in the local sporting scene with rugby league and softball and the top popular games that are around at that stage. And yeah, that was my involvement mainly. And I had an injured shoulder, which I did in Australia, which prevented me from actually too much contact. So in the rugby league season, I took up coaching. Didn't know a thing about it, but I had a good mentor in Sporty Marshall, had a long association with Sporty Marshall, and learned a lot from that man, and not only on the football field, off the football field, and here at Te Kore Mako. So, so I spent 30-odd years coaching rugby league with my own son, playing, and being involved in the Waitara Club, and then Taranaki, and then at a national level with various other teams. And had a great time with the rugby league community, still friends of mine today. And we were in Auckland just last week at the Warriors match and met some really good friends of mine from going way back to the old days of the club competitions when like Waitara would play Watahuhu, and that was the sort of level of club football in those days, and those associations are still very strong. Had to farewell a few of my friends over the years too. There's been a lot of them that have contributed to the game and have passed on, but hold them in great regard as to the. Hang on, just getting a little wave out from Mr. Lewa through the window. Sorry about that. But all those associations that I had, and it sort of formed the basis of my life, really, in that sort of sporting community.
Wow.
I spent like 35 years, I think it was, coaching rugby league, and then my grandchildren came along, and I got involved in, went and worked at the Waitara High School for 25 years. And I started coaching various other sports just with the school children and my own grandchildren, which gave me great satisfaction too. So I've just sort of wound up a couple of years ago. I'm coaching anything at the moment, but my grandkids have gone through school, and now they're all out working, and so I've got a bit of free time, and I spend most of my time these days with the sports hub at Waitara, which we're very proud of. We managed to put together enough money to build a sports complex in Waitara, and currently look after that place as far as the maintenance of the place and the various community groups that use it. We look after them as well. So still in there, but on a lesser, not so much time commitment these days, because my other passion, of course, is fishing. Love getting out in the ocean and just catching a few fish and just enjoy that environment. Quite exciting days in the summer and some little rough days in the winter, but yeah, so that's where most of my time goes these days. Yeah, so that's
Awesome.
about, in a brief 50-year history, that was about it there, Catsy.
That's awesome, and I'm keen to touch on some of those points that you mentioned in there about you know, the fishing and some of your time at Waitara High School and in rugby league. But first off, you know, like as a youngster, was it just rugby league that you played, or was there other sports that you kind of played? Obviously, Waitara's a mad sporting town, so yeah, what kind of codes did you play as a young fella?
Oh, I went through the general high school sporting activities as far as we were very big on softball in those days, and our summer sport was softball. Had some great mentors and with Wally Tiwaka and Walker White, some of those great old coaches that would look after us and taught us the game, and then we came through, and that was basically our summer sport. We had used to do a bit of surfing back in the day with the old Dell boards when surfing was in its infancy, and winter time was mainly played with rugby at school, and then league on a Sunday with the Waitara Club. Put a few of our kids together and had a few games. So that was our sort of mainly our winter stuff. But we didn't have the facilities for other sports in those days. But we had some very good mentors as far as we used to have weightlifting club in Waitara. Very interested in weightlifting with Pommy Crow, a former Waitara resident, who represented in the Olympics in 1948 in London. He was our coach, and I used to love that. Wrestling coaches, boxing coaches, some of our boxing club members. I remember Colin King was a very good boxer and coach for us back in the day. Bert Turner. You know, some real classic names in the Waitara community that were involved in those sort of sports in those days. So we all participated in everything. I was never tall enough to be a great basketball player, although I did love basketball. But it was a bit of a disadvantage when you got those lanky blokes all around you and they steal all the high stuff off you. But yeah, we took part in as much as we could back in the day, and we got a very good general upbringing in sport. But I narrowed it down. When I went to Australia, I went over there to try and see what the big scene was like in Sydney, and went over there and played some football, not at A grade level or first grade level. But I did get injured. I injured my shoulder back then in '69, and they didn't have the operations that you had today, and I never really got repaired, and it stunted me football life, but that's put me into the coaching sort of scene. So wow. Yeah, if you can't do it, coach it. So they reckon, don't they?
Yeah.
I love the coaching. I love the people. I love seeing the advancement in the young ones and skill levels rising and all those sorts of things that you do when you're a coach. So that was
awesome.
Mainly it.
Awesome. Well, definitely keen to have a kōrero about the coaching and your career. Most definitely, you mentioned some amazing names there from the Waitara community, and obviously a jack of all trades with all the different sports. But make sure to stay tuned, whānau. We're just going to go to a quick break now and be back shortly to talk to Uncle Terry about his rugby league journey. And we're back, Bano. We're back on Te Aoha Kina Your Sports Show right here on your Tribal Pulse. Te Kore Mako, and we're here with the man himself, Terry Tamati. We have an awesome kōrero here. Now, we spoke earlier about rugby league and your journey and your love for coaching, but you obviously had a stellar playing career as well, and obviously, you know, in the coaching ranks as well. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what are some of your real highlights throughout your life, you know, as a player and as a coach? What are some things that really stand out to you, some memorable moments?
Well, like I say, I dabbled. I played rugby for Clifton, and then I played league for Waitara, and decided that the Australian Premiership was the big part of the rugby league, and I decided to go and have a look over there and just to see what it's all about, see how test yourself out. So I went over there and got involved in the league scene and played for a couple of clubs in Sydney there, only on A grade level, not at first grade, and just to test myself out. And I thought, you know, it was we were on a par. Our boys that we were playing in our club, I knew some first grade players, and they weren't that much different to everybody else that was running around. Some were a little bit bigger, some were a little bit faster, some were a little bit more skillful. But all round, I thought our various teams had players in there that could make it, and it takes a little bit of luck to get selected. A coach either likes you or he doesn't. So I played what was Metropolitan League in those days, and probably we called today would be maybe second team, play New South Wales, so probably New South Wales Cup level. And we played we played sort of semi-professional where you'd paid for our days off work plus a little bit, but we would play on Wednesdays, and then on the Saturdays you'd play for your club. So we played 2 games a week in those days. And the Metropolitan League, because it was a Wednesday competition, there were a lot of first grade players playing in that too. So you're mingling with some very talented players and a lot of aspiring players. But that was about the limit to really where I played in Sydney. I did injure my shoulder in a final, and it's one of the reasons why I've taken such an interest in the rehabilitation of players, because I didn't know what I'd done. I knew I'd broken something, but just the dislocation of my shoulder, I couldn't get it reduced back. So I had to go to the hospital, and they put it back, and then they just sent me home. No one said anything. Coaches didn't say anything. No one said, you know, I was back in. Oh, yeah, you must be right. And back to work on the next day. That was a Thursday. You know, carrying stuff around. I know now that I studied the rehab, that all the things that I did were completely wrong. So that I started upskilling myself in rehabilitation and conditioning of injuries and stuff like that. So I got involved in that because I couldn't play. Every time I played, my shoulder would just pop out. It just wasn't stable. So anyway, that's where I got more into administrative sort of role because I couldn't play. Being a hooker too, because I'd be, you know, my arms would be over the top of the couple of big burly blokes there, and the stress that went on the shoulder joint then was quite intense in the old scrums. So that was about, I had to call it quits. And then I decided, I got married in Australia, and we came home, birth of our first boy, and so I decided, I'll get into coaching. So that's about my career in football. But I did play softball, although I'm left-handed. I do throw with my right arm, and my right arm is my damaged shoulder. but I managed to be able to control the shoulder to play softball, which was great because it gave me on one hand, the coaching part of the sport, and then on the other, the active participation. So I played that for over 10 years, met some really great people, some great players. We produced some great players as we all went through the grades. We developed so many young fellas that are still involved in the game today up to New Zealand level. We talk about Jared and Bevan and those blokes that have gone on to be legends in the game. Taking kids away in teams all over the country, from Invercargill to Auckland, and everywhere in between. We've carted youngsters away to tournaments and stuff like that. So it's been a great involvement in a great game.
Awesome. You've had a stellar career, most definitely, and I'm keen to come back and talk to you soon about some of your philosophies. There is kōrero that goes around that you're one of the greatest minds in the game to come out of Taranaki. So I'm keen to touch on that. So make sure to stay tuned, whānau. We'll be back for shortly after this quick break. Welcome back, whānau. Welcome back to Te Aoha Kina. We have Terry Tamati here. We're having a good old kōrero about his journey. Now, I've spoken to many, great rugby league people over the years, and so many have mentioned that you're one of the greatest rugby league minds in the game to come from here in Taranaki. Now, what is it about the game that you love, and what were some of your philosophies when you were coaching? Some philosophies that you held tight to your heart within your coaching roles.
Philosophies are I haven't got a single philosophy. I just said I like to see improvement every week. I always go away from a game thinking where could we improve, or what can we do better. So my philosophy is you don't go to practice just to practice what you're already doing. It's to analyse and get better every week. So in order to do that, you've got to know your game. You've got to study the rules, see how you can apply the rules to better your team performance. Sometimes you can use the rules to bend the rule, bend them to a greater capacity to give you more assistance to win the game. So I look at every rule that's in the book and how can we get an advantage from that rule. And then some people might say, oh, he cheated, and like that. But I always use the rule book to make sure that I didn't only know the rule, I knew how to interpret the rule. And over the years, I've used some fairly innovative thoughts and put them into place. And a lot of times I will talk to a referee before the game and ask him what is his interpretation of a particular rule, and will actually say to the referee, well, we're going to do this during this game. Is it legal? And they'll say, well, I'll rule it legal. Yes, it says in the rules you can do it. But other people see it and think, oh, you're not allowed to do that. Some things I did that I wouldn't ask the referee because I knew he'd say no. So you only ask the referee if you can do things that he will say yes to. So, philosophy is, get better all the time and know your rules and be creative. One of the great people with a great mind I learned a lot from was Barry Christensen. And Barry was a great thinker of the game, and probably influenced my thinking on the game as well. People don't know it, but he introduced the 17-man game to this country. The 17-man game was non-existent, and Taranaki got in a lot of trouble from the International Rugby League, and the New Zealand Rugby League came down really hard. We very nearly got banned from the New Zealand Rugby League because we were going to introduce 2 more players to our playing rosters from 15 to 17. His thinking was that we had enough players for extra, more than the 15, but we didn't have enough for a second team in each club. The game was in its infancy. So Barry said, we'll have 4 reserves, and that gives another couple of guys a chance to play. And we said, yeah, that's right, that's a good idea. But back in those days, you couldn't even replace a player unless he was actually carted off on a stretcher and the doctor was to verify his injuries. So Barry said, we're going to use it. We went to conference one year and the New Zealand Rugby League stood up and said, if you do that, you won't be part of the New Zealand Rugby League. So we said, well, we're going to do it. And now when you see it, it's around the world. Everybody's doing it. And now you put all that down to that man, Barry Christensen, who first came up with it to suit the conditions here in Taranaki at that time. The sin bin rule was another one of Barry Christensen's thoughts. Back in the day in the sin bin, he said, we don't want to play lopsided teams with people getting sent off, so we'll just have a sin bin, and then if it's really bad, well, we can look at it during the week. And now everybody's doing it, so there's those sorts of innovative things that Taranaki had brought into their game, which are now part of the worldwide game.
Wow.
So, I've done all sorts of things. I've had players 50 metres offside, but outside the field of play, waiting down there for the ball to come on a penalty run on tap, the ball go, and things like that. Or I do remember I was a bit naughty one time. I got in trouble, but I used to work in the freezing works, and there was a laboratory there. And I went over and saw one of the technicians here, and I said, how can you make blood congeal? Can you make it in a little plastic bag, and we can just pop it, and it'll just stop it from congealing. Yeah, put this additive in and this and that. So can you make me up some of those little packets? So what we did, we used to use them for what they had blood bins in those days. This was back when there were some viruses around that weren't really, you couldn't play if you were bleeding at all. So in order to, if you had a bleeding nose or something, you had to go off and get it all treated. So we'd go on there, pop the little plastic bag and on the top of the head, blood would run down over the ear and say, ref, we've got to take him off blood bin. So the referee used to have a signal to cross his chest blood bin so he could go off. You could bring on a spare, give your man 10, 15 minutes on the sideline and then pop him back on. So that was we invented the interchange rule by using these little. Oh, yes. So, we were a bit naughty sometimes, and some of the things we done.
Oh,
you had to have a laboratory to get the people to package it up for.
That's classic.
Oh, yeah. But we know your rules, and interchange is now part of the game, isn't it? So we weren't doing anything that they don't do today. But we just did it a little bit a different way.
Love it. Well, yeah, like I said, I've spoken to many of players that you've coached, and they've all spoke very highly of the different initiatives that you come up with and the philosophies you used to have within the game. Make sure to stay tuned, whānau. We'll be back again shortly to finish it off with Terry with a bit of a kōrero about his time on the sports show here at Te Koremako Taranaki. Kia ora koutou, no mai hara mai ki te ao kina. Welcome back to the Sports Show. We're here with Uncle Terry Tamati having an awesome kōrero about his journey. And now I just wanted to ask about the Sports Show now. Obviously, you and Uncle Hone Niwa for years ran the Sports Show here, such well-known voices across the motu, interviewing people from all over the country, across in Australia. But give us a little bit of history about the Sports Show. Now, I understand even prior to you and Uncle Hone being on there, I think Sporty Marshall might have been on there, Howie, and maybe JD and a few others in the time. Tell us a little bit about the history of the Sports Show and how much you enjoyed, your time on the Sports Show as well here at Te Korimaku.
Well, again, Sporty Marshall and Charlie Mack, they sort of kicked things off and with the Sports Show, and every now and again one of them would be away or might be ill or something like that, and they'd bring in a few of us just to fill in. So like Sporty say, "Oh, Charlie's away this weekend, can you come and do the show with me?" So I'd just pop in and we have a bit of a chat, because he was such a character, Sporty. He had a great sense of humour, and he was icon in Taranaki sport, as Charlie was as well. And they had their format, and then as they sort of got a little bit older and they passed it on, and Jack, or JD and Jack and that all moved in, Jack Nucky, of course. And Jack was a very intense guy. He would delve into the deepest depths of sporting information, and he'd have all those facts everywhere. And he was a different type of broadcaster, very factually correct, and all those sort of things. Whereas Sporty and Charlie just sort of glossed over things and hardly knew who played the last weekend. But it was very laid back, humorous, and that's what when we came in and took over, always tried to maintain that format. The people that were on, it was one big family really. We all got together, and whenever someone was missing, we'd bring in, Howie, for instance, bring him in and have a bit of a chat with him. And we had this great sporting group of people that had so much knowledge and so many experiences. They could go through their stories and you could just laugh about them, and that's what used to hook people in. And I still get phone calls today from Australia, and people come back from overseas and say, "Oh, miss saying hello, and miss you fellas on the radio." And so I really appreciate the people that used to, listen in. And if you're in Australia or something, they were getting up at 5:30 in the morning to hear what's going on in Taranaki. And that was their way of keeping contact with our local community. So 20 odd years I was working with Te Korimaku on the radio show, and I loved it. It was a great way to keep in touch with people, and whatever other news was, we try to concentrate on local personalities doing well in the world of sport, whether it be on a provincial level or whether it be international level. We would always try and keep up with what was going on and keep people informed of how well our local Taranaki people were doing. So, that was our show was all about. Had a little bit of variety. You had some great personalities in the horse racing segments, and people would take our tips and lose their money. Throw out a tip every week and we might win 1 out of 10, think we were heroes. But yeah, it was a very community-based, fun, news enlightening program. and I loved it. Yeah, but now this is all taken over. This new TV stuff. You gotta comb your hair before you go to work.
Well, you're looking suave there. You're looking very suave. That's for sure.
Oh, looking old.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
They always tell me, Cap said I've got a face for radio.
What's that?
They tell me that I've got a face for radio.
Oh, 100% you do. 100% you do.
You're the TV boy.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Monk. Well, it's an absolute honour and a privilege to have you on the show. As you mentioned, over 20 years of laughs and joy and awesome kōrero and interviews with people from all over the place. We're very grateful for everything you've done and everything you continue to do in the sporting world here in Taranaki and abroad. And I'm very honoured to be able to have the opportunity to sit in a space that gentlemen like yourself and Sporty and Uncle Hone and all these great people before us have laid the foundations for this type of space for us to all come together and talk about sports and how much we love sports and how much we love our community. So just on behalf of all of us in Taranaki, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy over many, many years. And it's just an honour and a privilege. Someone I've always looked up to as a kid, as a ball boy, coming through the grades. And it's just an honour to have you on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to see that Te Kuri Mako is taking another step forward. The studio is looking very professional now, all TV cameras and screens everywhere around. I'll be absolutely bamboozled in here, but it's a new era, and I'm very proud of the advancement that Te Kuri Mako's made and the broadcasting they do for our local community. As I say, I'm very proud of Te Kuri Mako. And you're doing so well too, mate. It's good to see you carrying it on, and that's the way it's supposed to happen. People come in at the bottom and then they work their way through and contribute, and everything grows. Kitty's over here, still busy as ever, keeping everybody organised. So nothing changed on that organisation front. So I know you're in good hands.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Unc, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to kōrero and hear of your story and your journey.
No problem, my friend.